Welcome to the 12th Horseshoe podcast and our week 15 recap. I put 16. Wow. I'm Elijah Winder alongside Jack Rizzo. I got to change that in just a second. We're sponsored tonight by Prova, an Italian eatery in Moonachie, New Jersey. We have 15 games to recap. We talked about the Rams 49ers, and we'll be making our Thursday night football game pick coming up. And we are almost towards the end, Jack. And how are we doing today?
Doing great, Eli. Getting ready for Christmas. We are a week away today. Good job last week on winning the picks. You went 12-4. I went 11-5, but I did pick up a win on LSU, which I've not done very much this season.
No.
So it was a big win for me. But ready to get into week 16, Eli. We had a lot more teams eliminated from the playoffs. We had a couple teams clinch. We had some surprises last week and hoping for an even crazier week 16 as we come to the end of the season.
Yes, and let's take a look actually at that playoff picture right now as we speak, and then we'll get more into the games and in depth. Well, the Steelers, the Texans, they're in the playoffs officially, and so are the Vikings. So we have the Texans, Steelers, Bills, and Chiefs in for the AFC side of things. The Lions, Eagles, and Vikings in on the NFC side of things. Ravens, Broncos, and Chargers are still in the hunt. Likely those teams will get in. But on the bubble still is the Colts, the Dolphins, and the Bengals, which all will be eliminated. I can guarantee you on that one.
The fact that the Colts are on the bubble is ridiculous. We should be eliminated. We should be kicked off the face of the earth.
Denver wins tomorrow. That is it for the Colts.
No, it's not. If the Chargers win tomorrow, that's it for the Colts.
That's true. Good point. Thank you.
So the Colts are eliminated if the Chargers win and the Colts lose. And we know the Colts are going to lose because they're taking on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer during Christmas week. So
whatever, Jack. We also have the Buccaneers, Rams, Packers, and the Commanders on the bubble and in the hunt for the NFC side of things. Seattle had the loss, moves Rams up in the playoff picture, but they're still on the bubble with the Falcons, Cardinals, the Niners, Cowboys, and the Saints. A lot more teams eliminated. But now we'll get into the games and our recap stuff. We'll start off with the Chiefs and the Browns. The Chiefs took a victory here 21-7. Patrick Mahomes got hurt, but guess what? He will be playing, it looks like, because he's been a full participant for the past 2 days already. So hold your horses, everyone. He will be playing, it looks like. But bottom line is we both got the lock of the week pick, right? The Browns are the Browns, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Jack?
Well, Eli, the Chiefs won by more than one score. Yay. Congratulations.
And it was not just by field goals.
Actually did it. Exactly. It wasn't just by field goals. They actually got in the end zone 3 separate times.
And their kicker's back with Bucker.
Yep. It was a rough game, though, Eli, in terms of injuries. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes getting hurt. Nick Chubb's out for the season with a broken foot. Myles Garrett had an eye injury during the game. So it was a pretty sloppy game, Eli. And the Browns have made a quarterback change. We found that out today. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the second-year quarterback from UCLA, will be starting next week against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, unfortunately, the magical Jameis Winston 2024 run is officially over. But the Chiefs, Eli, up to 13-1 now. The AFC West champs, and they have a big game next week against the Texans, so they very well could see in the playoffs as well. Both teams have clinched. And let me say, Eli, real quick, that you said the Texans clinched the playoffs before. Not only did they clinch the playoffs, they also clinched the AFC South Division title. So that was a big one for the playoffs. Yep, absolutely.
Well, one thing about the Chiefs, they have 2 very, very, very rough games upcoming. They have the Texans this weekend, and on top of that, they have the Steelers on Christmas. Those 2 games are not exactly easy, but we will see what happens. We will go from there, I guess. And yeah, very rough schedule ahead for the Kansas City Chiefs, but they are in the playoffs. That's the good part. The Bengals, they defeated the Titans 37-27. Not much more to say there. Mason Rudolph is in, and the Bengals, well, they won because they played the Titans, bottom line.
Yeah, that's about where we can leave this, Eli. The Bengals, though, I mean, hey, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they continue to do what they've done best. It was a big game for T. Higgins, Eli. He's had a down year and a contract year, so it would help if he could put up some good performances the final quarter of the season. And yeah, Eli, you mentioned it. Will Levis is out. Mason Rudolph is in. It's been a rough year, Eli, for Tennessee. I know that a lot of people thought it was going to be a rebuilding year for them, Eli, but considering how much money they spent in the offseason and how many big-time players they brought in, this has certainly been a disappointing season for them. and maybe Brian Callahan will be a one-and-done head coach. It's certainly possible, and there's other coaches we're going to talk about later, Eli, who also could be one-and-done head coaches in the NFL. It was certainly a failure, Eli, for a lot of first-year head coaches, and Brian Callahan was the example. Was a perfect example of that. Now we'll see with the Bengals. Eli, Bengals technically not eliminated yet, but they're going to need to win out, and they're going to need a lot of help to get in. I just don't see it happening, Eli. Man, what a disappointment, Eli, considering how great of a season Joe Burrow's had, how great of a season Jamar Chase has had, how great of a season Chase Brown has had, and how great of a season Trey Hendrickson has had over on the defensive side. The 2024 Bengals have probably been one of the more disappointing teams in recent memory.
All right. Well, yeah, that's not much more to say there, and couldn't agree more. The Cowboys got a big win over the Panthers, 30-14. What I can say about this is I'm shocked with this Panthers team because week after week, it's a brand new team. The past couple of weeks, we've been seeing a new Panthers team that wants to win games and score a lot of points. And this game here, they did not show that, though. With the score by more than 16 points with Dallas Cowboys, who have also been struggling this year. So it's a very shock loss for the Panthers. However, for the Cowboys, a big win for them.
I mean, keep in mind, Eli, the Carolina Panthers, the 3 weeks preceding this game, they lost by 3 to the Chiefs. They lost by 3 to the NFC South leading Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they only lost by 6 to a Philadelphia Eagles team that just beat the Steelers by 2 touchdowns on the road. And so I thought for sure they were going to have a win here against the beaten up and struggling Cowboys team. They just took a big step back, Eli. Bryce Young looked like the old Bryce Young. And it's hard to figure out where this Panthers team is going to go, Eli. Now they do have a win, perhaps a winnable game next week against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll see how that goes. But it was certainly a step back for the Panthers, Eli. But hey, it was a good win for the Cowboys. And quietly, they've won 3 of their last 4. Cowboys not officially eliminated yet, but again, they probably will be soon. They still their next 2 games are against their final 3 games are against the Bucs, the Eagles, and the Commanders. All 3 teams in playoff position. So don't expect Dallas to be in the hunt for much longer.
All right, the next game on the list. Well, the Jets got to win, everybody. The Jets win a football game.
Hey,
bravo. They beat the Jaguars. Final score of 32-25. And I'm just, that's kind of embarrassing if you're a Jacksonville if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars in general, because that should have been a win. Instead, you lose to the Jets of all teams in the National Football League. That's got to be a little bit embarrassing right there. I know you want the draft pick and stuff, but come on, that's embarrassing right there. And yeah.
Now, Eli, was this the 2024 Jets that we saw on Sunday, or was it the 2020 Green Bay Packers? Because the Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams connection looked like the old connection that they used to have up
Too
in
late,
Lambeau.
though.
Yeah, exactly. Would have been nice if they could have done that 2 months ago, Eli. Speaking of that, this is the Jets' first win in nearly 2 months, and congratulations, you ruined your draft position with a meaningless win over a struggling Jacksonville Jaguars team. I thought the Jaguars were going to win, Eli. I thought Mac Jones had played well. Jags won. They beat the Titans last week, so I thought they'd play a little bit better. But hey, nothing really to be ashamed of. The Jags want a good draft pick, and they're going to get one. So we'll see what happens. Eli. It's kind of just one of those games where whoever won was going to ruin their draft positioning, whoever lost was going to help their draft positioning. And to be fair, Eli, for a game between 2, 3, and 10 teams, it was actually pretty entertaining. So I will give them credit for that.
Absolutely. Now, the next game, well, wasn't so sloppy. The Dolphins lose to the Texans 20-12. Texans, that's how they got into the playoffs because of that win. No surprise, they were the heavy favorites to win that game. Will they go far in the playoffs? That's all time to tell. They are not the same team that we saw last year. We'll give out that point now. And overall thoughts on this game, Jack?
Well, Eli, this was certainly a disappointment for the Dolphins. It feels like every week they take feels like 1 week they take a step forward, and then the next week they take an even bigger step back. And let me say, Eli, that Tua Tagovailoa might be one of the dumbest quarterbacks I've ever seen play this game, considering that he's had at least 3 concussions so far. He could have had more. We don't even know. And the fact he continues to take these dangerous hits on the field. And some of the passes he threw last week were extremely concerning. Some of the interceptions he threw were horrible. He had 3 interceptions in the game against the Texans, Eli. You wonder if CTE is starting to kick in. That's how bad he's been out there for the Dolphins. And this basically all but eliminates the Miami Dolphins from the playoffs in 2024. And as for the Texans, Eli, they clinched the division, but I still don't think that they're ready for the playoffs. They just have been struggling, really. I know they're 9-5, but I don't really know. I can't really think of any impressive wins the Houston Texans have had this year, outside of maybe the Bills game, but that was several weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting, Eli. And it's going to be a good,
That's
big
how I feel
test the
about
next 2
Buffalo.
weeks. The Texans have the Chiefs next week, and then they have the Ravens after that.
Yep.
So the Texans are really going to be tested. And we're about to see, Eli, the next 2 weeks if the Texans are ready for January football or not.
Absolutely, and we know that they did. Uh, we have a comment from Josh who texted in. He says, "Captain Jack is rolling about your assessment of Tua. That can stand him. 200-mile joke.
200 million,
Thank
yeah, $200 million joke. That's right. I can't believe
a
they paid him
million
that much
mile, not
money.
mile.
No, you're good.
Thank you for the comment, by the way.
It feels like the Dolphins receivers, though, run 200 miles per game, only for Tua to miss them on deep passes and just throw interceptions.
Yeah, pretty much. Commanders, they beat the Saints by 1 point. 20-19 the final. We both got the pick right. I had my survivor pick right there. But why was this game so close? This is like sad because this Commanders team was and potentially is a playoff team right now based off the way the NFC is going. But that game proved that they've just been getting lucky. And that's the bottom line.
I couldn't agree with you more, Eli. You know, the Commanders jumped out to a 17-0 lead. We're like, oh, great. The Commanders are back. That little 3-game losing streak they had, they put it behind them. They somehow, though, let the Saints, who were starting two young quarterbacks, who had two young quarterbacks in this game, somehow just keep crawling back. And, of course, they scored no time left. And now, they failed on the 2-point conversion at the end of the game. So the Commanders still won, Eli. But I just do not think they are ready for the playoffs, Eli. I really don't. I am concerned about the way they're going to play in the playoffs, Eli. And it continues. The curse of Cliff Kingsbury in the second half. Cliff Kingsbury led teams. It happened when he was at Texas Tech. It happened when he was with the Arizona Cardinals. And now it's happening with him as the offensive coordinator in Washington. They play great in the first half, then they struggle in the second half. And even though the Commanders are 9-5 and are likely going to be a playoff team, Eli, how far they go in the playoffs, I really don't know because they don't
That's the
look very
mystery.
impressive right now. There's a lot of teams, Eli, who have either been eliminated from the playoffs or already eliminated from the playoffs, Eli, that I think if they played the Commanders right now, they would beat them.
Yeah, that's great points to mention. Well, here's a stat that's very impressive. The Rangers and Devils have more wins at MetLife Stadium than the New York Giants this year.
Oh my God.
That is incredible stats right there. Great job on my research.
So does Notre Dame.
Hockey, Jack, hockey.
Okay, we can talk about football, though, too. Notre Dame has more wins at MetLife.
Okay, Notre Dame. Every other team who's beat the Giants.
Yeah, basically.
Every team who's beaten the Jets at MetLife.
Yeah, but that's right. The Rangers...
But the Rangers and the Devils, that's what I was going to
I know, I kind of ruined that. I just realized, but it's all right, though. You got your point across. Rangers and Devils both won. We were both there, too, for the Stadium
And we were
Series in
both there
February.
2 different days.
That was
But
fun.
The Ravens lose. Not Ravens lose. The Ravens beat the Giants 35-14.
I was going to say.
Ravens beat the Giants 35-14, and I've got no notes to say.
I don't either, Eli. I mean, what are we going to say about the Giants? They're the worst team in the NFL right now. I don't think anybody can debate that.
Shall we move along?
Yeah, sure. What a game.
That's
Great
great.
game for Lamar Jackson. We can move on now.
Move along. Well, the game of the week really kind of came down to the end. We'll say on that one. Bills defeated the Lions 48-42. We both got the pick wrong. And are the Lions frauds? Are the Bills for real? Are we just thinking too early for the Lions? That game really was just, I guess the best word is a wishy-washy game for both these teams. I don't know.
Well, Eli, I will give you credit. You were right in one aspect and you were wrong on one aspect. You were right about this game maybe not living up to expectations, which I don't think it did, so I'll give you credit there. But I think you were wrong on what kind of score we were going to have because you had a bit of a low-scoring game, and instead both these offenses decided that they did not want to be stopped. They put up a combined 90 points in this game, which I believe, definitely should be the highest-scoring game in the NFL this season by far.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing, Eli. Are the Lions frauds? Right now, possibly. But here's the thing, though. They have 18 players currently on injured reserve. That blows my mind. It really does. Basically, their whole defense is on injured reserve. They lost to Lee McNeil for the season with a torn ACL. And now David Montgomery, their star running back, might miss time as well. They just can't catch breaks with these injuries, Eli. It's like the Lions finally got over the curse of not winning football games, and now they have to deal with a new curse, which is the injury aspect. And Eli, if the Lions can't get healthy, I'm not sure how far they could go in the playoffs because I don't really know if this defense is going to be able to stop anybody with all the injuries. And it's not even their fault, Eli. It's not even the Lions' fault that they're frauds. They're just frauds because they have so many injuries. And as for the Bills, Eli, there is no doubt that Josh Allen's the MVP. He cemented his MVP season with that performance against Detroit on Sunday.
But is it playoff worthy? That's my question. I still believe no.
Well, MVP is a regular season award. So regular season he is.
100% agree, yep.
We'll see with the playoffs. I mean, if they play the Chiefs, we'll have to see, but they probably won't have to play the Chiefs until the AFC Championship game. So we'll see what happens there. But I think the Bills will be just fine in the playoffs, especially getting rid of that cancer being Stephon Diggs out of the locker room. They just have so much more team chemistry than they did before. Like the Bills haven't lost Eli in over 2 months. That's how dominant they have been. So we'll see what happens, Eli.
Well, they lost to the Rams.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I actually did forget about that. But
my bad.
Yeah, no, my bad, not your bad. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I love the Rams, so I can't believe I forgot.
I know. Well,
I really do love the Rams. I'm sad we can't talk about them today, but I'm excited to talk about them on our prediction show on Friday. But good win for the Bills, Eli. And who knows? Will we see this in the Super Bowl again? It's possible. Maybe. We don't know. We'll have to see when January comes by.
Well, the Broncos took care of business, bottom line here. They took care of the Colts 31-13. Not a good game for the Colts. For the Broncos, they're proven to be a playoff-bound team. How far will they go? We don't know. But they definitely win the game fair and square and definitely by a good number. Overall thoughts on the Broncos, Jack?
I don't even want to talk about the Colts, Eli. I'll talk about the Broncos. We're not talking. The Colts don't deserve any coverage on our podcast today. They are a joke of a football team, so I'm not even going to mention anything about them. We'll talk about the Broncos, though.
Okay.
Bo Nix has work to do. Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions on Sunday. He did not have a good game. The Broncos defense and their special teams is what won them this game, Eli. The Broncos offense needs to improve. That is with no question. Their offense has to improve when the playoffs come because they're not going to be able to keep up with teams like the Bills and the Chiefs and the Texans and the Ravens and some of these other AFC teams. But the Broncos have been a great story this year, Eli, and they're going to be a dangerous team for a long time. So that's what I've got on the Broncos for you.
All right. Well, the Cardinals, they defeated the Patriots. Final score 30-17. That was an interesting one. Definitely surprised that the Patriots did put up that many points. The Cardinals allowed that. But overall, a big win for the Cardinals. Don't think that they're going to go to the playoffs, but it's helpful that they did get the win. But anything's possible. That NFC West is wide open.
It sure is, Eli. I don't really recall anything from this game. I didn't really watch it. It was the worst of the 4 o'clock games. But I do remember Jonah Williams, the left tackle, scoring a touchdown in the end zone. But that's all I can remember, Eli. Patriots have had a rough season. There's no question about that. They weren't really expected to play well, but the last 2 months or so have been extremely rough for them. Meanwhile, for the Cardinals, they've had a decent season, Eli. I know they're not an amazing football team, but they're a solid football team, though. They're not going to be a cakewalk for anybody, which is a positive thing, I think, to say about them, Eli. And the Cardinals have a decently manageable final 3-game stretch. They play Carolina next week. They play an injured. They play the Rams in Week 17, which is a tough game, but it's not a division games. Anything can happen. And then they play the extremely injury-battled San Francisco 49ers. So if the Cardinals win out, Eli, they could still win the division. Now, will they win out? I don't think so, but we'll have to see what happens. But they're not out of it just yet. They bought themselves another week with this win.
Absolutely. Now, here's the next game. The Steelers lose to the Eagles. Eli was right. I have a great feeling that the Steelers will not go far in the playoffs. Bottom line, here's my reason why. I know everybody's going to say, oh, you're crazy. Because they lost to Philadelphia. And I feel like they've been playing a lot of weak teams. And that's why they're getting these wins that they are getting. What's going to happen come playoff time when they got to play these tougher teams? That's my biggest question. So to me right now, that game proved that the Steelers aren't them yet. And Philadelphia, the front runners right now in the NFC after a big win against Pittsburgh.
I have to say, Eli, I agree with you. I really do. Remember, all my love for Mike Tomlin is only about regular season success because nobody can deny that. He still has not had a losing season as head coach, but the Steelers have not won a playoff game since 2016. The Indianapolis Colts have won a playoff game more recently than the Steelers have. That's how long it's been since the Steelers last won a playoff game. The last time the Steelers won a playoff game, the Miami Dolphins starting quarterback was Matt Moore. Again, that's how long ago the Steelers won a playoff game, Eli. So I agree with you. I don't think they're built to go far in the playoffs, especially if George Pickens is going to continue to be out with this injury, because their passing attack is basically nothing without him. If George Pickens comes back, the Steelers have a chance, Eli. We'll see how the final 3 weeks play out, Eli, but I agree with you. There is a chance that the Steelers will not go far in the playoffs. Now they'll probably still end up winning the AFC
Division.
but we'll have to see. I don't think they're going to go very far in the playoffs. Maybe they'll win one playoff game, but I don't think they win anything past that. I think they're out after that. I just don't think they're really built to go far in the playoffs. So I agree with you on that statement.
Yeah, and you know what? If I'm the Steelers, I'd be concerned about the coaching because listen, it's great. Your regular season, you had success, but at the same time, how many more times can we make it to the playoffs and just embarrass ourselves?
That's so
That's
true.
the question.
That's been a.
I would be concerned for the head coaching job at this point because yeah, you're winning games, it's great, but every time you got into the playoffs, it's been nothing but failure.
I agree, and the thing is,
job
Eli,
is soon going to be up one, if not this year, if not next year, no question. Because
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish, Eli.
But I think bottom line is, I think his job is going to be done sooner or later, whether it's this year or next year, if they cannot make the promised playoff run that they want. And I don't mean, they have to win the first game, bottom line in the playoffs and go far. I don't mean, going to the third round and losing. That's different. But they need to win playoff games. I'm a little concerned.
That's right, Eli. I've seen a lot of Steeler fans themselves who think the same thing. They're kind of stuck in the middle. These 9 to 10 win seasons are great, but what is it get you? Maybe making the playoffs and being out in the first round if it does. Like, where's that? They don't really have a direction, Eli. But at the same time, firing Mike Tomlin, though, Eli, here's the thing. I agree with you that that's possible, but the thing is, though, Eli, only reason the Steelers are even in the playoffs every year is because of Mike Tomlin. You look at this roster, this is not a very good roster, especially on offense, but Mike Tomlin just somehow gets the most out of them, Eli. So if they fire Mike Tomlin, which is possible, I think they're going to tank. I don't think they're going to be very good if they do.
Which I 100% agree with your point. I 100% agree with your point that, yes, the way he builds this team up is incredible, but to tank in the playoffs every year and to disappoint your fan base year after year, that's more disappointing in my book. I don't know. But again, only time will tell. We'll see in the playoffs what happens. And they still got a couple more games left in the regular season. Next game on the list here, Buccaneers. They took care of business over the Chargers 40-17. Wow, what a massive win for the Buccaneers, proving to be the division winners. The Chargers, wow, bye, because that's going to be soon. I mean, that was not impressive whatsoever this week.
This is basically a repeat of last season, Eli, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Start the season slow, but finish strong. Baker Mayfield and the offense are coming together, and the thing, Eli, that the Bucs finally have that they haven't had in years past is a run game. We did it, guys. The Bucs finally have themselves a solid run game to complement their passing attack. Mike Evans is still doing his thing. Man, he's one of the most underrated receivers of all time.
Yep.
If he's going to go down as one if he's not already. And I'm excited to see the Bucs. I don't think there's any question that they're going to win the NFC South. I don't trust the Falcons. Absolutely not. We have a little bit to talk about with them when we get to them. But not only did they win, Eli, they won by 23 points on the road against the Chargers team with a really good head coach in Jim Harbaugh and a really good quarterback in Justin Herbert. But I had a feeling this was going to happen, Eli. I just think the Bucs are a team that's built to play down the stretch, and they are going to be a team that nobody wants to face in the playoffs. Again, Eli, they almost beat the Lions on the road last year in the playoffs, and they've already beaten the Lions this year in Detroit. So anything's possible, Eli, but I'm really looking forward to watching this Bucs team play in the playoffs again. They're so much fun to watch.
They are, and we'll see what run they will bring to the table this year. The next game on the list, we have the Packers who defeated the Seahawks 30-13. What a disappointing game for Seattle. Geno Smith was hurt. That was one argument there. I was just disappointed. This team proved that they could only beat the weak teams. Now, if they beat Minnesota this weekend, then I would say, maybe Seattle does have a chance after all. Maybe they will actually go far. But if they lose to Minnesota this weekend, that you can say goodbye to the Seattle Seahawks for winning division and potentially making it to the playoffs.
The Seahawks are like the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NFC. They have 9 or 10 wins every season, maybe make the playoffs, but then are out in the first round if they do make it.
But again, we also play San Francisco. Keep in mind about that. This year, San Francisco's not in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but the Steelers usually don't win the division though either. So they're both like wild card teams. So that's what I'm
Correct.
getting at,
That's
really.
I get your point.
Let me say this real quick though, Eli. If you thought, Eli, that my Packers Super Bowl pick was crazy, I hope you don't anymore because you saw it firsthand on Sunday night.
Nope. I still think you're crazy.
Oh, okay. Even though they just beat your team by 17 points on the
Yep.
road in Seattle.
Because let's see what happens in playoff mode.
They're better than the Lions.
They could play Seattle.
But
They have
maybe
to play away.
You know what? Maybe the Vikings will be in the Super Bowl. Maybe that's the team that'll be in the Super Bowl in the NFC. But
That'll be
either way,
shocking,
Eli, we talk about how good of a season Saquon Barkley's having and how good of a season Derrick Henry's having, but how great of a season has Josh Jacobs had with the Green Bay Packers since coming over there? He's had so many big time performances the second half of the season, Eli, and he's been a huge reason, Eli, when the Packers are making this playoff push at the end of the season and why they're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs, Eli. And the Packers are so well-rounded. They have a great offense. They have a great defense. They have a great coaching staff. And you could hear the Packers fans in Seattle on Sunday night, which was so impressive. I heard a very loud "Go Pack Go" chant in the third quarter of that game. They traveled well, Eli, and so I would be disappointed if I was a Seattle fan by the season ticket sellers selling those tickets to the Packer fans. But it was a great win for the Packers, Eli. They have a tough 3-game stretch to close it out, but I think Green Bay is going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs once again.
All right. Well, the Vikings, they beat the Bears 30-12. Not much to say there, but the Vikings are good. Bears are not. I think we can quickly do that one.
Who would have thought, Eli, that the Vikings would be 12-2 after week 15 with a backup quarterback coming off a losing season, Eli? I don't even think the Vikings fans
thought of it.
Could have even thought this, honestly. But, Eli, there is no doubt, Eli, who the coach of the year, the head coach of the year is for 2024. There's literally no question. It's Kevin O'Connell. Literally cannot be anybody else. Because what he's done with this team after losing Kirk Cousins and after losing some of their other players, going 12-2 is ridiculous. And it's not like the Vikings have had an easy schedule. They've had to face the Packers. They faced some other tough teams in the AFC. And this has just been such an impressive run for them, Eli. And the Vikings are going to be a dangerous playoff team, Eli. And how about that defense? A couple of years ago when the Vikings went 13-4, it was all about the offense. Defense struggled, but this year, Eli, the Vikings are well-rounded, and the defense might actually be better than the offense is now. And this is just a special football team, Eli. And it's crazy that some of us, not going to name names, had them going 2-15. And it's funny how 2-15 could end up being 15-2. So a complete reverse of the script. Yeah, it wasn't you. I had 6 wins, though, so that was disrespectful as well. But, man, Eli, the Vikings are such a great team, and the Bears are an absolute joke. They are 0-8 since that Hail Mary, since the Maryland Miracle. And I don't know when they're going to recover from it, Eli. We'll just have to see what happens with them.
All right, final game to recap. Falcons beat the Raiders 15-9. Falcons, they barely survived that one. And what happens? Kirk Cousins gets benched, and the rookie will be starting coming up on this weekend versus the Giants at home. Pretty incredible.
Nobody's going to be watching that, I'll tell you.
Well, to see the rookie, yeah, absolutely.
You know, oh, yeah, maybe to watch the rookie, but Kirk Cousins getting benched after a win, that's pretty rough. But, I mean, to be fair, he stinks. But
15-12, they almost lost to the Raiders.
What were the Falcons thinking? What were they thinking giving out that contract? And it's not like they could get out of it. Like Kirk Cousins does a full no trade clause. So he could just force the Falcons to keep him on the bench and pay him the $100 million he has. And if the Falcons release him, they still have to pay him all that money that they guaranteed to him because the majority of his contract was guaranteed. But I found a funny story from @MySportsUpdate on Twitter. He said that Michael Penix was in Costco buying a $1.50 hot dog when he got the call saying that he had taken over as a starter, and apparently he lost his appetite after he got the phone call. So pretty funny story there, Eli. But I'm excited to see the rookie play. Yeah, he had a great career at Washington, and he's going to be a really good NFL player. He's a great pocket passer, left-handed passer, so he'll join Tua in that regard. It should be interesting, Eli. And overall, Falcons are still alive in the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to make it. And that's it for week 15.
Wow. Feel bad for the hot dog on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Broncos take on the Chargers on Thursday Night Football, 8:15 on Prime Video. Chargers somehow favored by 3, but I ain't going by that. Give me the Broncos 24-21.
I think, Eli, the Broncos have won 4 in a row. I think they're due for a slip-up game. The Chargers have lost 3 of their last 4. I think they get a little bit healthier this week back home. I think this is still a very good Chargers team. I think they're ready to get back on track. I'm taking the LA Chargers to win this game 26-20 and really help them cement their playoff legacy.
All
Eli,
right.
and also kind of picking the Chargers because so it could just eliminate the Colts from the playoffs because I hate seeing that we're still in the hunt and we need to,
Wow.
and the Colts need to keep losing so we get all of our guys fired because that's the only way the Colts are going to start winning games is we fire our coaching staff, our front office. So it's for the best for the Colts franchise if the Chargers win this game in Week 16.
No wonder why. All right. Well, that'll do it for us here for the Week 15 recap. We will join you on Friday with a special guest and our Week 16 picks. Have a great day, everyone.
Go
Go
Colts.
Seahawks and go Devils. Goodbye.